Hi, my name is Kathy Fosno and this is Kat's Creative Corner. And today we're going to be making this really pretty fall card. And I'd like to thank Teresa Howe for the inspiration for this card. I saw hers online and I just tweaked it just a little bit to make it my own. And I just love this card. So I hope you enjoy it and let's get started. First, you're going to need a piece of Whisper White cardstock cut at 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. And I don't have my bone folder with me right now, so I'm just going to use my finger, but we're going to cut that, or we're going to fold that in half. Then we also need a scrap piece of paper, just a scrap piece of Whisper White. We're going to need a piece of Whisper White cut at 2 inches by 5.5 and a piece of Cucumber Crush cardstock cut at 2 1/4 by 5.5. Okay, we're also going to need a piece of Whisper White twine, baker's twine, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to use my Cucumber Crush, and I'm going to use a sponge, and I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to just run that piece of Whisper White baker's twine through the ink, holding it on with the sponge. Undo that a couple of times. And you want to do this first so that it has plenty of time to dry before you put it on your card. Okay, I'm just going to hang it right there on the edge of my tripod. All right, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take both your Whisper White, your strip and your scrap. We did this card in my class, my workshop, Saturday, and I did another class on Sunday, and everybody just really seemed to enjoy this card. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the strip, and we're going to do the bottom. And when you're sponging, start off the page and then work your way up so that you don't have clunks, and kind of do it in a circular motion. And you're just sponging a little bit, work off and then work up. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little bit of, I'm going to leave this sponge on the Cucumber Crush so that I don't mix colors. Now I'm going to use Garden Green. I'm going to push that up just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to use Garden Green and doing the same thing, and you're just making your little grassy knoll. Okay, so maybe just a little bit more so that the trees have plenty of space to go on. All right, so that's my two greens. And then I'm going to use, I have several different colors I'm going to use. You can use a choice. In my instructions online, I used Tangerine, Tango, Peekaboo Peach, and Delightful, or Daffodil Delight. I'm going to add a couple of colors to that. Some of these sponges are wet still from when I used them the other day. I always wash them out and clean them. Okay. So, okay, I'm using, this is our Cajun Craze. And I want to do some Delightful, or Daffodil Delight. Give a little yellow in there. The effects of this is really awesome when you get it all done. It just looks so pretty. Okay, there's that one. Now we're going to do, we'll do a little lighter orange. We'll do Peekaboo Peach. We're just wanting to make sure we get into all those spaces to give a beautiful horizon. All right. And then I also have Tangerine Tango. So you can use whatever fall colors you like. You don't have to use the colors I like. You could do a night one by using some blues and some purple hues. Okay, so that piece is done. We'll set that aside. Now we're going to do the same thing to this other piece all over, because we're going to cut a leaf out of this one after we use some copper embossing powder. It's going to be, oops, that's the same one. We don't want to do that. Okay, so here's some of the Peekaboo Peach. We're just mixing it, thinking of a fall leaf. Let's do a little cherry cobbler on this one to give a little red on the leaf, because we're going to be using a maple leaf, and a lot of maple leaves I've seen have red in them. Okay. I'm not sure if I did the Daffodil Delight or not, so we'll do a little bit more if not. We can do a little bit of the green, because the leaf this time of year still has some green. I mean, that's pretty just as a background. Isn't that pretty? I think I have a shadow there. I'm sorry. There you go. Okay, so that's the colors I'm going to do for the leaf. So now we have both our pieces. And then we're going to take all these sponges, and I will be washing them off. Now I'm going to take the Versamark ink, which should be on the table here. I know I put it there. There it is, way over there in the corner. Okay, we're going to take Versamark and we're going to stamp our maple leaf from the Vintage Leaves set and die set. We also have the die set, so we're going to be cutting out the leaf with our Big Shot. So, but first we're going to take our Versamark and we're going to stamp the leaf. And make sure you get it really good. And since this is photopolymer, you need like a piercing mat or a mouse pad that you can put underneath it. And then I'm just going to stamp right there in the middle. And then I'm going to take my embossing powder, and I'll just take a piece of just regular typing paper just to catch the embossing powder. And I'm going to sprinkle the embossing powder right over it. See that? It's kind of dull, but we're going to use our heat tool. First, before I use the heat tool, I'm going to put this back in so I don't blow it to smithereens all over my floor. Put the lid on so I don't make a mistake and dump it. And then I'm going to close the Versamark. All right, now I'm going to turn on my heat tool just so it can get a little warm. And then I'm going to start heating it till it starts melting and becomes shiny. Embossing is one of my favorite things because it's so awesome to see it change. Be careful, don't get it too close to your fingers, it can burn. And don't get it too close to the paper because it can also burn your paper. All right, that's the leaf, all embossed. So I'm going to go on my Big Shot, and I'm using the base plate, the thin die adapter plate, which is this one, and then one of the acrylic standard cutting pads. I'm going to put the leaf, should put this where you can see it. I'm going to put the leaf on the cutting pad. Make sure that's all centered. I'm going to put it down. And you want to try to get it as close to where you want it to cut as possible. Then I'm going to put the pad down, and then I'm going to run it through. It's not in there quite right because it's not moving. There we go. Okay, we're going to run it through once, and then I always like to run it back. I don't like to do my cutting on the videos very often because it just is time consuming, but sometimes I like to do it so that people can see. And see what I did there? It moved, so I missed a part. But in this case, because it's a leaf with different colors in it and everything, I really don't think it makes it look that bad. So I'm going to use the leaf anyway. Okay, and then you have a nice little stencil if you want to do something else on another card. Okay, so we've got our leaf and we've got our strip. Now I'm going to take, going to close these for just a moment. I'm going to take this strip that we already sponged, and I am going to take from the Lovely as a Tree stamp set, I'm going to use the Grove. Okay, so, and on these we don't need the pad because the clear stamps, it's called clear, they're not clear, but they're called clear, but they have a pad with them, so you don't need that. So I'm going to use our archival black ink. When it's a larger stamp, sometimes I like to turn the stamp up and then turn the ink pad over and stamp that way. I feel like I get better coverage that way. And I got black ink on my fingers. Okay, now we're going to take that Grove and I'm going to put it over a little bit to the right because the leaf will cover the other side. So there's our Grove. Isn't that pretty? I just love it. Okay, set this aside. Now, oops, one sec. I sometimes forget things when I'm making a card, and one thing I shouldn't forget is my adhesive, but I sure did. So I'm going to take my Snell adhesive and I'm going to stick it to the center of this this Cucumber Crush piece, right in the center of it. And it should go exactly, but if it doesn't, you can always take a pair of scissors. I have some snips here. I will trim that piece off. And if you do it upside down, you'll see the edge easier and be able to put it on easier or cut it off easier. Okay, so now I'm going to take and tape the Cucumber Green strip, Cucumber Crush strip, and I'm going to put it a little higher than the middle, not quite, a little higher than the very middle. I don't like things to be in the very middle. I don't like them always centered. Okay, now where did I put the little string that I made? I made that strip of string, and now of course I can't find it. Did I drop it? I don't see it. Well, I'll show you in the other card so I don't have to stop and start again. I took the string and I just wrapped it around and tied it at the top of the card. Nothing big, but it's just nice to have it green. Now I'm going to take and I will put with dimensionals, I am going to attach my leaf, which normally it would be under the stem. Oh, I remember where I put the stem. It was hanging off my tripod. There it is. I found it. Okay, so all I'm doing, as you can see, is tying it in a knot at the top of my card. So it will show on the inside of your card, but there's nothing wrong with that. And of course, it's not easy to tie a bow, much less when you're on video. So, okay, now I'm going to take, and see, it wasn't quite dry, so you want to do your string. If you have to dye your string, you want to do it early enough that it has more than enough time to dry, because I got some ink on my card. Okay, so you can see that. It doesn't really mess the card up too much, but it is there and you may not like that. So just make sure if you dye your string or your ribbon that you do it ahead of time. Okay, so now I'm going to take some dimensionals. These are our Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. And I'm going to put them around so that it stands up. Okay, and then you always take the backing off of your dimensionals, because it's sticky on both sides. If you have a trouble getting your sticky off, just a little tip, push in the center and it will lift that little piece of paper up. Okay, so now I'm going to stick this leaf under the ribbon and over the tree grove. See that? Isn't that pretty? Okay, then the last step is I'm going to take the Cucumber Crush, and I'm going to use from the Watercolor Wishes stamp set, which you can only get that with the Watercolor Wishes kit, but I tell you, it's worth the investment. I use this stamp set all the time. It is really a good, I like the font on it. I like the, just the size. I like everything about it. Okay, so now I'm just going to take and stamp thanks at the very bottom. And then one more thing you can do just for fun. Sometimes well, most of the time it's really nice to do something on the inside of your card. And I would take the edge of the grove and just stamp right on the inside, just in that corner, so you have a little bit of something inside the card as well. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this card. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel for complete directions and for all the sizes, and for a list of supplies. You can go to my website, Kat's Creative Corner, and hit the shop button. It'll take you right to my online store. Thank you for coming by.